Okay, so we have a new project, and just remember you can never have enough projects. So we have got a little Mini, and here she is. So I'm going to do a series of videos about this Mini and the work that's required on it. But the first video I'm going to do a little introduction and just show you where to look at for signs of rust if you're going to buy one of these classic cars. So the first rule when you're buying a classic car is try to get one that is complete. I mean fully complete, so everything is there. If possible, it should run, and it's much better if it runs, drives, stops. So brakes work, gearbox works and engine works. These are all good things to start with. Having a full set of glass, yes, full set of all the bits that you might not be able to get, like handles and ring mirrors and stuff like that. Make sure it is complete as possible. So as for this car, the engine does actually run and the gearbox does allow it to drive. However, there are no brakes. When I say no brakes, I actually mean there are no brake pipes or brake cables for the handbrake cable. So this definitely does not stop. So that will be one of my first tasks, to have a look at the brakes. So where do you need to look on a Mini for rust? Well, there are obvious areas and less obvious areas, and this is one of the less obvious areas. Call this the scuttle here. Now you can see in the middle there, that line, which is a bit dodgy, a bit rusty. Now that rusts out quite badly behind there, and also underneath that section is where your, let's call it the A-post or inner wing is. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is basically the A-post and along the doors. So make sure all this area down here is okay and you haven't got rust bubbling through the A-post, because that would be quite an annoying repair. Then go along the doors, and you'll see on my doors I have got some rust bubbling through. That's not too hard to repair, but it is extra work. Make sure it's not too bad. That spot I'm focusing on the middle is the worst area. So I'm going to have to look at that. Also here you've got the seam where the sill joins on. You want to make sure that's okay. I'm fairly certain these have been replaced. Have a good look under there and make sure it's not falling to bits. They do. Another area you need to look at is behind this area. Don't know if the camera will focus in on it. Let's try. So as I come to the bottom of the A-post panel, looking underneath the arch, you can see there's a couple of repair panels down here. Okay, so I'm sat on the back seat. The passenger seat was loose, so I've taken it out. But you want to make sure all your interior is complete. Unless you're going to change the whole lot, then it won't really matter. But it's good to start with something. So all the interior in here is complete. It's not necessarily clean, and some of it's a bit damaged, like the door cards are a bit damaged, but at least it's complete. Now I've got the passenger seat out. The next area I want to look at is the floor, because this is quite a nasty area. So I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a look at the floor. Okay, quick look at the dash. Everything seems to be complete. I don't know if I'd rely on the mileage. In fact, I'm fairly sure the engine is not correct in this car. And then we've got our normal switches here, and everybody will know what the peg is for. There's the choke, so you need the peg to hold it out if you didn't know. Then we've got these air bullets here, I'm going to call them air vents. And on the other side where the air vent is, this is quite an awkward area. I don't think the camera's picking it up very nicely. There you go. Behind there is a ductwork which goes into the inner wing, or inner arch I suppose you'd call it, and that's quite a nasty area, so we'll be having a look at that later. But now we want to have a look at the floor. Okay, so this is the passenger side floor, and it looks a bit tatty, but generally it's okay, which is quite weird because it's normally the passenger side floor that suffers. See, there's a bit of welding here, some welding being done here, probably underneath, and that's the penetration. Some welding there. So I'm going to have a look around here. Potentially this corner looks a bit dodgy, but otherwise that's not too bad. So let's go to the driver's side. Okay, so on the driver's side we have holes. We actually have a lovely hole. So that floor section is going to need quite a lot of work. You can also see welding, there, welding over there. So it's going to need quite a bit of work, but it does actually look like the original floor. I'm saying that because it's still got this sound deadening stuff here. So it potentially is an original floor, which for a car this age is quite good. So it's always worth remembering that even the smallest project will take up a lot of space once stripped down. So here you can see I've got all the interior. That's the two front seats, the rear seats, the cards that go either side of the rear seat, and I've also taken out the carpets. Thankfully I've got somewhere to put this. So you're not going to be able to take all the carpets out as I have, but you definitely want to be lifting the carpet at these corners in both driver and passenger footwells. You can see all that welding going up, and that's just made the job a lot harder because we're now looking at two panels, looking at the floor panel and the, I'll call it the arch or inner wing. But also that corner does involve all the A-posts, so it could get quite a complicated repair there. On the other side would look to be a lot better, but I will get the paint off and have a good look around there. If you look at this area down here, either side of this section here, it's where it's joined on to the floor panel. There's actually a hole here. There's actually a hole on the other side. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. All of this bit is loose down there. So we need to look at that. There's still a hole there. They've obviously done some patching in the past. So on this side you can see I've actually got quite a good hole here. So that's going to need looking at as well. And while I'm in the Mini, it's worth looking at these rear arches. You can see this side, that looks quite nice. There's no rust down here. All looks okay. If you look inside here, I don't know if the camera will actually pick this up or not. Here it is. You can see this area down here is all rusty and horrible. That you need to be careful of because that is basically where the subframe mounts, so that could be an MOT failure. Looking at the other side, this time you can see we've had some of the paint removed here, and we do have some holes there. And again, let's look down here, and again we've got a hole. Now the back of the panel, at the bottom of the boot, hidden behind basically the bumper, you can see there's quite a lot of rust down here as well. So you really want to make sure that's not too bad. See it rusty, rusty, rusty all the way along. Focus camera, thank you. And then this corner down here is quite bad. So that whole rear panel probably needs replacing. There's a view up from underneath. You can see where the bumper is mounted and all the rust. Now we're going to have a look under the bonnet. And one of the areas you want to look, and you can see I'm missing a few items here. Those who know Minis will know I'm missing a piece of ductwork that goes in that hole there. That feeds fresh air down. But if you go further down there, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. There's quite a lot of rust down here and further back. Another place you really need to be looking is in the boot. You've got several areas to look at in the boot. First you've got the battery box, that could be rusted through. Where the spare tyre goes, that could be rusted through. And there's a rather nasty area down here. As you can see, I've actually got rust holes down there. So there's quite a lot of repairing to do down there. Now this is one of the areas you'll definitely be able to see because there should be nothing in the boot or nothing, there's no carpets or anything hiding your view. And while I'm in here, I'll just point out that bracket in the middle with the two bolts either side is actually a subframe mount. And here's one of the last things I'm going to show you. It is always worth remembering. Don't know if you can see this. If there is no oil under a Mini, there is no oil in it. So I take this as a good omen that there is actually oil in the engine. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of this video, and I think it's just worth a little review. So if you're going to buy a Mini, firstly try and get one that's complete, and secondly, it's not if it's got rust, it's how much rust it's got. So hopefully the video has shown you the areas you need to look at. There's another video I've done which shows you the area behind all the dash card. I can't stress highly enough that you really need to be getting a torch and looking behind the A-post, because that's the worst area. So the last bit of this video is some pictures. Remember these when you actually used to take films into chemists and get them exposed and printed out? So I'll obviously scan these in so you can have a look, but this is my first Mini. It's a Mini Clubman Estate, and that was my second car I had. I can't really talk about the first car, Austin Allegro. I'd rather forget that. But this was my second car, and it's a P-Reg. It's a P-Reg car, which means it was made 1975 to 1976. I'm currently 48 years old, and I would have bought that car when I was 18. So when I got it, it was about 16 years old. And at that time, you can see just how much damage there already was. So I was fairly new to this, but I like taking things apart. So very quickly I had the wings off, and you can see all that area on the A-post. You see all that damage and all the repairs that I had to do to get it back on the road. But just remember, that car is 16 years old. Now this car I'm sat in now doing this video is 38 or 39 years old. So it's gonna have had some work done on this car. That's inevitable. It's how much it's had done and how much it needs to have done. So I hope this video has been useful, and if you've liked it, please leave comments and please subscribe. Don't really mind if you do or not, but it's useful to me. There's going to be a lot more videos coming out, and if there's anything you particularly want to see, just give me a shout and I might be doing that, and I'll get the video out sooner. Thank you for watching.